guest in the studio tonight to dwell more on the International Day of the Disappeared is the Director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Osai Ojigbo. Ma, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Well, these are very real cases, and they are very touching.
Yes, they are.
It is the International Day of the Disappeared. What is or what are the significances? What is the significance of this day?
This day is very important because it gives us an opportunity to remember, to check about where our governments are in terms of how they are protecting our citizens, and also to look back at the previous years to see if there's been any sort of improvement. It's also a day to stand in solidarity with families who are still looking for their loved ones.
Now, you know, talking about an attempt to give a scorecard, what will Amnesty International Nigeria's position be as far as what you just said? When we look at the rights of citizens, most especially those who cannot even be traced.
Right now, we have a situation whereby we do not have full access to records that are not properly kept. And this is due to a number of so many factors.
Okay.
We found that in cases where the law enforcement agencies arrest people legitimately and they are booked, you can trace those records.
That's right.
But in these cases, it's quite unique because people are taken, they're not told why they are taken. Sometimes you don't even know which agencies have actually been involved in the process, and so there are no records to be found, which makes them invincible. And so that even makes it even riskier. And because of that, we cannot fully say how many people are facing this kind of situation. It's only those that have been brought to our knowledge that we can actually say yes.
Now, what can we say is being done to see that we mitigate maybe future occurrences of such?
I think the first thing is to ensure that there's professionalism within the forces, and that even within the specialized agencies, whether it's the SSS, whether it's SARS, that they also fall within the ambit of the law protection principles.
Right.
And right now, you find that most of the time they act outside of the law because they believe that they've been given special instructions, or they've misinterpreted the command to actually ensure they can curb insecurity, insurgency, particularly in the areas affected by the conflict, to go outside of the law. What we're saying is that no, you are still within the law. And the rightful law enforcement agencies whose responsibility is to secure life and property should make sure they fall in line.
That's right. You know, Amnesty International this year placed focus on the victim of enforced disappearance. Who can we liken to these people?
These people have been arrested, they've been taken from their homes, usually they are detained, and they are people that, in addition, the authorities deny having any knowledge of. So that's why it's enforced disappearance, because they did not go willingly, and it was usually by force or some threat of violence.
That's right.
And the fact that there's a denial as to their existence or to their whereabouts makes it even more dangerous and difficult.
That's right. Now, what is the Amnesty International doing at ensuring the release of victims and forced disappearance vindicated by the judiciary, if perhaps eventually they can be traced and what have you?
There are two cases, and two of the representatives of the family were at the event today commemorating the International Day of the Disappeared. One is Ibrahim Aliyu, who has 3 brothers missing, and they were able to get judgment stating that the state agencies, the security agencies, should produce them. But unfortunately, to date, that decision has not been implemented. The same thing in the case of Isa Umar. His brother also, they've pursued together with other members of their family up to the point of getting judgment that he be produced and handed over. Till date, that judgment also has not been implemented. So it begs the question, is it that they don't know where he is? Is it that they are ignoring a judgment of a valid court of law? Or is it a complete disregard for the rule of law. So it begs so many questions, and we're still going to follow up those cases in order to ensure that the authorities can answer the questions and give recourse to the family.
That's right. You know, any collaboration, can we say, between your organization and the National Human Rights Commission at ensuring that vindicated persons are reparated?
We don't have any current scheme or collaboration with any other body, whether it's the National Human Rights Commission or any other NGO body. But we're open to see what facilities can be provided to ensure that these sort of things don't happen. Why do I say so? Because you need other people involved. We require everybody's hands on deck in order to find a lasting solution to this.
Right.
And most importantly, for the government to facilitate this and take responsibility for ensuring that it's implemented, it fulfills its obligations under international law, and that each and every one of us is aware of our rights and know how it can be enforced.
That's right. You know, as we prepare to round up, I want you to give us a purview within which Amnesty International operates.
So Amnesty International is a monitoring human rights body. You can call us an observatory, so to speak.
Because you can't enforce anything.
Because we can't enforce anything, but we speak out and we give opportunities for those who have experienced violations of a human rights nature in order to have access to justice.
Okay.
And our work in Nigeria covers the entire Nigeria, and the aim basically is to ensure people can live a life of dignity and they have access to enjoy the best which life has offered to them within the constitution, within the law.
That's right. Quite often we've had your organization being criticized by security agencies, most especially at the heat of the insurgency, where we used to hear things like, all right, anytime it appeared the military is winning, Amnesty comes hard, but when the insurgents are getting an upper hand, you hardly get statements from your office.
That is actually a misconstruction, and I will state this because often people pick what is sensitive to them.
That's right.
And if you look at all the reports and all the statements we've made in the last 3 years, particularly looking at Nigeria, we've always talked, we were one of the first agencies to talk about the Boko Haram insurgency and the violations happening in the Northeast, and nobody reacted to that. And then when we noticed the violations that were also being committed by the military who were sent to actually curb the insurgency, that was when people started talking.
Right.
And it's also because we've kind of distanced ourselves from what is happening there. We feel like it's too far away from us, and we feel that the military are there to protect us. So it's been misconstrued, but often we give the facts as it is, and we are very impartial.
Mm-hmm. Knowing the total number of missing persons in the country is of importance. Is there any collaboration between Amnesty International and the National Technical Committee on the establishment and management of database of missing persons in Nigeria?
There's no existing collaboration. We're hoping to learn more about what the committee is doing and how they hope to be able to have a database that is proactive and is accessible to all. Because as we all know, not everyone has access to technology or to the necessary resources in order to report. So we'll be very much interested to see how they facilitate that and how that would help us in ensuring we have more knowledge about people who have been taken away.
Any hope from your organization for families of victims of enforced disappearance?
They should not lose hope. As long as they share their stories, and as long as they continue to unite together, definitely their voices would be heard. And with organizations like Amnesty International constantly asking the tough questions to government, we are sure that eventually they would get the recourse that they seek and the justice that they actually deserve.
Osai Ojibo, Country Rep, Amnesty International, thank you so much for taking time out to share your thoughts with us on behalf of your organization on the news tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the good work you are doing too.
Thank you very much.